Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is locally owned and operated, and they also help you specialize in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your business online. If your company could benefit from any of that, check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more information. Joining me inside the Pyramid Contractor studio today, James Thompson, the owner of ECS Technology Solutions. Appreciate you being here, James.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
When we talk about the modern day of technology, and it feels like everything is either operated by AI or some kind of computer, and everything is done on the internet, what is the importance of maintenance and keeping people up to date with the latest updates and technologies and making sure they're ahead of the curve?
Yeah. I think one of the largest misconceptions is since everything's online, it's already protected and it's okay. But like our biggest battle right now, I feel like, is just cybersecurity in general. So when we talk about everything being online, we have to figure out how we're accessing those things and making sure that the products that we're using to access those things are up to date, that there's releases out there that are helping keep it secure and making sure that there's no vulnerabilities to be able to access those tools and those products and so on and so forth. So keeping things up to date is extremely valuable, at least from a cybersecurity standpoint.
If we're talking about the day and age of cybersecurity and people constantly trying to get your information and the process of what that looks like, if somebody is dealing with a cyber attack or ransomware, what's the first piece of information or advice you would give that person?
So if you're actively in the process of being breached or having a cyber attack, obviously reach out to a professional. Try to get an incident response team on the call, and that would be any managed security service provider. On top of that, please look into cybersecurity insurance or cybersecurity liability insurance, just to make sure you are protected. But there's a lot that goes into it, but definitely reach out to a professional.
Somebody we had them the other day said the first piece of advice they'd give to a new entrepreneur is find a good lawyer, find a good insurance person, and deal with that and have them deal with that type of stuff. When we talk about insurance in the IT field, I think some people would be surprised to know how much that costs and what type of coverage would you need. When you started this business 20 years ago, is that something that has changed drastically over that time?
Yeah. I would say it's changed quite a bit, even in the last 10 years. Cyber threats are just booming, especially with generative AI coming out. What we have to realize is that cyber attackers do get those tools as well.
Sure.
So obviously the need for insurance and the need for protecting your systems is bigger than ever. And it's something that we thought about in the past, but not quite as much as we do now.
Sure.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the time periods in which people need availability, obviously some businesses run 24 hours a day. Some people are still 8 to 5. For your help desk specifically, what are your guys' hours and how much are you guys seeing work after that time period?
Yeah. For us, we're pretty lucky. We have a pretty low demand group of customers. So our service desk currently, we operate from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. So we have a 12-hour window Monday through Friday, and then we have on-call for after hours and weekend support. Fortunately for us, we don't get as many calls on weekends. So.
Sure. If there's somebody that needs help with that, what does that usually look like if we're talking about after hours? What are some of the things you guys are seeing after that 6 to 6 time period?
Really, it's for for us personally, a lot of the people that are asking for help are obviously companies that are open on the weekend, on Saturdays and Sundays. Maybe a printer's not working. I think printers are like our arch nemesis, but
everybody's Achilles heel.
Yeah. So outside of that, just basic communication issues or someone trying to work late and making sure they have access to their systems.
A lot of people in bigger companies, usually when you call their technical support, you're getting somebody that sounds like they're probably not from your local area. Yeah. How big is the customer service portion of what ECS offers, and what have been some of the feedback from your clients?
Customer service is honestly our number one thing. Actually, my dad started the company in 2004, and his focus was making sure that he was able to deliver a level of service as if they treat him like family. Right?
Sure.
So family became one of our core values, not just for our employees, but for our customers. So making sure that they know who we are and they understand what we're saying is extremely important. But it means everything. Yeah.
To do that, you've got to obviously be able to maintain the service level. And if somebody is looking right now for IT support or needs a managed service provider, but they're debating whether their company needs it or not, what does your smallest client look like from an employee standpoint, and what's your largest look like?
Yeah. So our smallest client is a one-man shop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we're a little bit unique. So we actually started as a computer repair shop and transitioned to become a managed service provider. So we have a lot of customers that start off smaller, and our largest customer that we work with right now has 1,400 end users. So there's quite a range. I would say our sweet spot is probably 50 and above that want to utilize all of our services.
Obviously, when we talked about your guys' mission statement, it's giving people the ability to spend time on what matters. If we just had somebody that works with HR services in yesterday, but when we talk about having to focus on IT, and everybody loves telling you that they're not technical if they're not, right? If somebody out there feels like they're technical enough to get by, but doesn't know if they need a professional IT company to come in, what advice would you give that individual?
Yeah. So, I mean, for instance, we just met with a company last week, and it's a business owner. He has, let's say, 30 employees, right? And he's been doing IT on his own, and he's the business owner, and he has to deal with all the issues when they come up. Granted, they have a pretty lightweight system, but now his business is 30 employees deep. Things he's not focusing on, or maybe doesn't understand fully in depth, are things like cybersecurity, or maybe different aspects of his IT environment that he just doesn't think about because they're not in, that's not what he wants to do as a profession. But our main goal is to alleviate that one single pressure. As a business owner, we have the gift of wearing multiple hats and being able to focus on multiple things. My request to the business owners for them to focus on what's going to grow their business. And IT and IT security isn't the thing that's going to grow their business. It's the thing that's going to help them stay in business and help them stay competitive. But the business owner, in my mind, needs to focus on what they're good at and continue to leverage his or her skills and continue to grow the business that way.
Well, I think that's an interesting point, because I think a lot of people, when they think of IT services, they're thinking about just the person that answers the phone call at the help desk, or maybe their on-site technician. But you have a really interesting viewpoint and standpoint. You know what it means to run a business and make those decisions. How do you feel like that helps you personally in your day-to-day operations at ECS?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, our mission is to empower individuals to spend time on what matters. And just personally, and we try to think about that all the time in what we're doing, all right? Like, we just hired an outsourced HR company because I don't want to be HR. I'm not good at HR.
Sure.
I understand IT. So let me focus on IT, and we'll outsource an HR company, and it's just little things like that where we start to focus on what's important. It's who, not how, right?
Right. Is that difficult for you to look at something and say, I'm not good at that, I can find somebody that's better, I need to hire somebody smarter than me in this area?
It used to be.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a struggle for a lot of business owners.
Yeah, it used to be. When you're starting off and there's only 4 people and you're doing everything, it's really hard to start passing off.
Yeah.
I've been gifted with some incredible employees that have taken some of my responsibilities and just, they've crushed it, done way better than I'll ever do. And now I have...
Surprising to you?
At first, it was surprising. It was a tough pill to swallow.
Sure.
Right?
I think it is for a lot of people.
But the reality is not one person can't be great at everything.
Yeah.
Right. So once we realize that if I can focus on one thing and be great at that, and I can let someone else focus on one thing and be great at that, then we could both continue to be more successful in what we're focused on.
We're catching up with James Thompson, owner of ECS Technologies Solutions, here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. If there's one piece of your job that you say, I can't give this up, I can't relinquish it, I feel like I can be the best at this in our company, what is that for you?
Galvanizing. I don't know. I love speaking to the team and getting the troops going, right? So I would say just continue to work with the team and continue to tell them about our mission and what we're trying to accomplish.
Flip side of that, other than HR, because you've already given it enough. If there's something else where you're like, hey, this is not my strong suit, I need somebody else to help me do this. What is that for you?
This is actually one that would be hard for me to give up, but probably the next big thing is going to be our bookkeeping. I actually love being in control of it and monitoring it. But I know it's something that takes a lot of time, and maybe I could focus on something else. But
Is that just because, hey, it's nice to know how much money's coming in and going out? Is that a big part of it?
that is a big part of it. But also, I don't know. I'm just a numbers guy, so it's
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings me up to an interesting question, because I think one of the most difficult things, just a few years ago was accounting for and coming up with hardware, monitors, keyboards, mice. The pandemic caused a lot of issues as far as supply chains. How has that kind of changed coming out of the pandemic? And is there anything you guys learned in that time of purchasing that's helping today?
I mean, obviously everything's a lot easier to get a hold of now. One thing that technology has allowed us to do is to, I don't know, I guess be a little bit more careful on how we're preparing for those purchases, right?
Yeah.
And making sure that we understand or can foreshadow, if this were to happen, then are we prepared for it? So, I mean, we're kind of fortunate in some sense that we were a little bit, I don't know, I guess in my mind, we grew up a little bit later in our business career, at least when it comes to business IT services. So
You mean you weren't good at your business right out of the gate? Weird.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we matured late, but it's okay. It worked in our favor because we learned a lot later, and we were kind of set up for success. And but yeah, I guess yep.
Was there anything during the pandemic that you guys learned from a business standpoint, or how to purchase, or anything like that you guys still used outside of the pandemic that helped the business?
I can't say, at least from a procurement standpoint, anything in particular.
Sure. What about like on the help desk side, or just the way you're helping your clients?
That was huge. That was such a transition, especially, I mean, during the pandemic, everyone went to work from home, and we had all of our customers at one time asking us to help them set up from
Transition.
home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was just wild. And I think the biggest thing that, kind of helped us continue to grow and be successful is just the fact that everyone is willing to go all in and dive into it. So we know if there are those cases where it's going to be, fire, that if we can get everyone on board to help out and make sure that we have a good plan of attack, then we'll be okay. But
another part of the pandemic that was difficult for a lot of people was staffing. And a couple other people I know in the industry are having an issue staffing right now still. Is that a problem that ECS has run into? And what does that look like in today in 2024?
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm going to say we've been fortunate. We had an issue with staffing probably a few years after the pandemic. I mean, I don't know. IT was one of the fields where, everyone was kind of part of the Great Resignation. So trying to find people that wanted to work in our environment wasn't always so easy. But
why do you think that is?
Specifically in MSP world. So this is actually funny because we talk about this all the time. In the MSP world, most IT professionals see an MSP as a high stress environment. And we know that. And actually, when we started building our MSP services, that was one of our focuses of trying to solve that issue. This is irrelevant to everyone else, unless if you're in IT. But
there's a lot of these topics, by the way.
Yeah, we tried. Our focus, one of our core focuses for our team, is to make it a low stress environment, which is unheard of for MSPs because everything's wildfire, right? Like,
sure.
If there's something wrong, everyone has
and
to
it's
respond.
5 different companies at the same time, right?
Right. Yeah. Hence, pandemic comes, right? We had 150 companies trying to ask us how to set up their workstations from home, and it was crazy. It's just very high stress, and we're trying to set it up to where our business is less stressful. So we probably overstaff compared to most MSPs and workplaces, and we try to make sure that we're overly prepared. And that's helped us out in many levels for staffing. Being overstaffed, we have more employees that have relationships in the IT field, IT industry, than we've ever had before. And they leverage those relationships. And if we can make a great, exciting, fun workplace for them, then they're more willing to refer a friend or bring a friend in. Right?
Jump in a time machine with me. Take me back 15, 16, 17 years ago. How difficult was it for you when you first took over the business to be able to hire somebody and trust them with your father's company, the company that has your name on it now, and an industry that you're trying to build your legacy under?
It's quite a bit different than the way it used to be. Honestly, when we were smaller, it was almost more difficult, and we couldn't really afford the level of staff that we can afford now. Like I said, we got lucky in some of the team members that we got. and they just happened to turn out amazing, and they were help us grow and build. But it was difficult. We would go through employees often because we didn't have a good hiring process.
Right.
We were just hiring bodies, right? And we're just bringing people in to help us continue to do the work. But we weren't really focused on what that meant for our culture. So the biggest difference today is now, we have 24 just hired. We had 23 and 24 start yesterday. Wow. So at 24 employees, now we have a better, recruiting process. We have a better hiring process. We have a better orientation process, right? Like all the things.
Is it still weird to you that you have that many employees?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Actually, we love it because we don't feel like we're where we want to be for our team. And, we're trying to give everyone the opportunity to grow. So I guess we're overly ambitious. And honestly, for me, it's kind of weird because I'm like, we're not where we need to be. Like we need to be at 36 employees, or we need to be at 40 employees. And that's just always our mindset. So, but now when I look back, I remember, 10 years ago, I'd meet with a company and they're like, we only had 7 employees at the time. They're like, we're not that big. We're at like 27 employees, 23 employees, whatever. And I'm like, dude, you guys are doing awesome.
Yeah. Congratulations.
And now I'm in their position. And I'm like, we're not that
We
big.
can get there. Yeah.
We have more work to do, And
if we're talking about troubleshooting or a common call, what do you think is the most common phone call or ticket that comes into your guys' ticketing system?
It's got to be printers.
Really? Yeah. Over password resets?
Still printers. Yeah. I mean, password resets have gone down quite a bit. But I don't know. We try to be really proactive, and we try to solve a lot of the problems with automations and password resets. We make it easy for people so we don't get as many calls.
Sure.
Actually, printer issues, we're working on creating a lot of automations to get rid of them altogether. But they still come up, man.
Yeah, it's the problem that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
If that's and I highly doubt that printers is the answer to this one. What do you think is the most difficult phone call you guys face?
The most difficult. I would say.
Or do you have a unique story, maybe?
Well, so I guess one of the highest stress ones, like if there ever is an incident response, that's the highest stress issue. The most difficult issues are when we're dealing with third-party vendors and their support isn't on par.
Sure.
Right. And they're just not easy to get a hold of. I mean, there's a handful of vendors that we know once we had to call them, it's just going to take way more than what we want.
Do you just want to name Microsoft out loud? Or should we hold off on
that? Right. No kidding. Yeah. There's a few out there where if we had to get their support involved at all, it's just,
You guys are located on 204th and right off Maple in Elkhorn. You're an Elkhorn graduate. You spent most of your life out there. How has the Elkhorn community benefited your company and vice versa?
Yeah, the Elkhorn community is great. I mean, obviously, I graduated in high school in 2007. I have a lot of great relationships from high school, and some of them business owners that we've been able to stay in contact with. And but community is great. Relationships are great. I mean, majority of our customers came out of Elkhorn, so to get us started. So
is that by design, or I mean, how often are you focusing on landing new clients in the Elkhorn area versus just take them kind of as they come?
Yeah. So originally, I mean, the primary focus was Elkhorn, and we actually started off as Elkhorn Computer Service. Now we're ECS Technologies Solutions, right. And so obviously that community engagement and being involved in Elkhorn was huge for our initial growth. Today, I think we have a little bit larger focus. Still, majority of our customers we're focused on are in Omaha, but we do have basically, I mean, our end goal is to turn it into a national company. So we are looking to expand that market.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle from you guys getting there now?
I think our biggest hurdle right now, I mean, I say it all the time, and I talk about it all the time, it's just time.
Yeah. There's never enough.
Right. Right. That's why everything we think about is time, right? And that's why we made our mission statement to empower individuals to spend time on what matters, right? It's a limited resource that we can't get more of. So if we could, yeah.
We're catching up with James Thompson of ECS Technologies Solutions here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractors studio. Let's talk about you and your time then for a second. Your husband, your father, your business owner, you network. You were trying to keep up to date and stay ahead of the curve on everything that's technology, and all that's changed since you walked in this room.
Yeah.
How do you make time to do all that?
I mean, luckily for me, like I said, our team is incredible. So at least for keeping up with technology, there's a few members on my executive team, Steve and Tyler, which is kind of funny because Steve and Tyler, they're incredible at keeping up with technology and allowing us to continue to be successful in what we offer as a service, right? So hats off to those guys for making what we do possible. But home life is very important to me.
Is it difficult for you to unplug?
Sometimes,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Business is always something that's in the back of your mind, and it's something I love, and what we're doing, I love it. Luckily for me, I have a great support system at home.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's incredible. She's a nurse, so she just takes care of people, and she takes care of me. So she's an incredible support system and allowing me to.
She involved in the business in any way at all?
Nope. And she's probably
Is she
doesn't
happy
want
about
to
that?
be.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, no.
How much do the kiddos know what mom and dad do?
They know a lot. They know
awesome.
a lot. Yeah. A few of my kids want to take over the company.
Probably sooner than you want them to.
And then they also share share the same passion for being a nurse like my wife. So they fully understand what we do, and I hope they appreciate what we do.
We talked about growth a little bit and expansion to being nationwide. In the interim, what does growth in the Omaha Elkhorn area look like over the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to be the number one MSP in Omaha, and that's our first goal. And once we can achieve that, then we'll start looking to branch out into other markets. There's a lot of our customers that have secondary locations in other markets, and obviously, we want to be able to support them there as well. And that's our focus. We just want to be able to provide that highest level of support to everyone in our community, right?
We're getting pretty close to the time frame where we like to shut it down for the day. Is there anything about ECS Technology Solutions that we haven't really mentioned that people should know about?
Man, we throw great parties. We
Sure.
have Brew Bash coming up on the 19th, where it's a fundraiser for Breakthrough T1D.
Which is what?
So Breakthrough T1D, it's formerly JDRF. My oldest daughter Peyton, she's 12 right now, but on the 19th, she has a walk team for Breakthrough T1D where we raise money to help cure her type 1 diabetes. And,
where's it going to be hosted at?
it's going to be hosted right in front of our shop. So we closed down the street on 206th Street there. We closed down the whole street, and it's called Brew Bash. It'll be on September 19th.
That address is 2720 North 206th Street out in Elkhorn. Check out ECS Technology Solutions at the website scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now, ecs.rocks. Also, if you look them up on Google, I mean, you can't really argue the results. 204 5-star Google reviews as well. James, appreciate this. Thank you so much for doing this. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 talking to Bennett Chesterman with Chesterman Coca-Cola. What does Coca-Cola do in the city of Omaha that's benefiting the community? We'll learn about that tomorrow at 11 o'clock here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio.